In this video, we're going to do the domain and range if we only know the minimum or the maximum. In the first parabola, we know that 0, 0 is the minimum. If 0, 0 is the minimum, that means that we have this dot, 0, 0, and we know that we have a parabola. And if we have a parabola, that means that it will never go lower than 0, 0. So for the range, if we're never going to go lower than 0, then 0 is the smallest number we're going to be for y. And we're going to go upwards from there, but we're never going to pass infinity. For the domain, well, there is no boundary. It's going to be negative infinity, x, positive infinity. Because this graph is going to go forever to the left and forever to the right. For the next example, we know that 1, negative 6 is the minimum. We have another minimum, but this time it's going to be at 1, negative 6. I'm drawing this graph. It's just showing you that this parabola is somewhere. It's somewhere in the plane of all x's and all y's, but the smallest number on this graph is 1, negative 6. So if that's the smallest number, then negative 6 is the smallest y, and the biggest y is infinity for the range. For the domain, there's no boundary again. We can go to negative infinity, we can get close to negative infinity, we can get close to positive infinity. On this one, we have that the maximum is 2, 3. That means that somewhere in the space of this graph is 2, 3, and that is going to be the highest point of this parabola. If that's the highest point of the parabola, then that means that the minimum point, the smallest y, is negative infinity. That's the smallest y. And the highest y is 3. We're never going to be higher than 3 on this graph. And then the domain has no restrictions. Negative infinity, less than x, less than positive infinity. So the domain and range for a parabola really only depends on the y of the minimum or the maximum, and that's only going to affect the range. Unless they give you some sort of limit for the x, unless they tell you, if they told you that the graph is starting from 0, then the domain would start at 0 and then go upwards from there. If it was starting at negative 1 for the parabola for some reason, then the domain would start at negative 1 and go on from there. But in all of these examples that I've shown you that are actually on this page in the way that they're asked, the domain goes from negative infinity to positive infinity.